part of the solution, and one of my favourite people in the world is Trevor Long. His website, EFTM, he is not associated with anything that has happened in this program prior to his appearance here. Whether he agrees or disagrees, don't complain to him. He's with us now because today the Federal Communications Minister has come out and basically started to show us how the system of this under-16 social media thing is going to work. Now, they haven't told us exactly what, but Trevor, give me the simple here. They are trying to say to TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, here are your options, pick one, but pick one of them as the way of being able to work out if somebody is 26 or 16.
Yeah, good evening, Paul. Basically what the government's finally done, and you've got to remember here it's less than 3 months until this a ban comes into force. They've finally given the guiderails to these companies. We're talking about TikTok, Meta, those kind of companies, around what a reasonable step is. Because the legislation purely says these companies must take reasonable steps to prevent 16 and under-year-olds from having accounts. What does that mean? So it basically means that they can use things like age estimation, which is the idea of going, well, look, we can see that this person is saying happy birthday, happy 13th birthday a lot of times. They're under 16. Flag them as being young. They're looking at accounts that are very much associated with youth. They're joining groups that are about, the local youth club, whatever. They're looking at their content and they're saying, we think they're underage. Now we put them through the next level. So that's age estimation. Then they can go through the process of age assurance, which is essentially asking the kids or the account holders to say, hey, take a photo, take a selfie, complete this task, this test, whatever it might be, and let's guess whether or not you are or are not over or under 16. And only then can they make the decision, are they banned or are they not? But it's very vague. There's no true rule to this. It's just about saying you must take reasonable steps. And Paul, I can't imagine any of these companies ever being fined because they're always going to say, we took reasonable steps, we tried.
I also think that the letters VPN, if you know what it means, you know why those numbers are going to matter. It's essentially a way of changing your devices, and it's not quite legal, to suggest that you're not in Australia in order to comply with things. From the adult's perspective, right, obviously to be able to identify somebody as being able to use, then that means people over the age of 16 will have a buy-in into this situation. Now, do you expect the way that what's being discussed here is if, say, somebody's watching us right now, they've got a Facebook account already, they would need some sort of age verification every time they go to the damn website, like a bank and codes and all the rest of it? Or is it only if, your brother's never been on social media, he's in his 50s and he wants to start an account? For those that love their facey, what does it mean?
I don't think it's going to affect anyone of 30 years or older. Now, the government ran a trial to test all these technologies to guess what people's ages were. And there was this great chart that said it's very, very high probability of guessing someone's age if they're under 10 and a very, very high probability of guessing someone's age if they're over 21. In between, nightmare. But if you're over 25, over 30, and you've been using the internet, using Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you're not even going to get a pop-up message to say, hey, are you under 16? That's just not going to happen because they're looking at your account. They know what you're liking and what you're engaging with, and they don't even begin to suspect that you are under 16. So no, the average Australian on social media is not going to have to prove who they are, prove their identity or share their identity. And to be clear, in defence of the government's made it very clear, identity documents cannot be the only way these companies manage this age verification. So no, Paul, I think it's really only going to be people who are looking at things of childish nature that may have cause to be concerned about whether or not they get asked how old they are. And
a good point, right? If you've had a Facebook, Instagram, whatever account for the past 10 years, it's going to be pretty obvious that you've been around for a while. If you're in the Wayback Machine in the 2008, the 2010s, then obviously it's not going to apply. Last question here, and I do not seek to make you blush like the beautiful pink background behind you, but what about some of this stuff about adult material and about whether the government is going to try to move this across to anyone who wants to spend time at that end of the internet? Now, again, I'm just interested if it happens because it wasn't mentioned during an election, and while people are going to think it's disgusting to even talk about this, we all know what drives the internet, okay? Are they going to move any of this across to the adult stuff?
Yes, they already are. Paul, the focus is entirely on social media, but there is a separate set of legislative rules that say that, I think it's from late December, things like online tools and, you know, pornography, things like that, will require some level of age assurance. That's the term they use, is age assurance. Now, that doesn't mean that everyone's going to be asked their identity, but it certainly might mean that you've got to go through a couple of hoops. Look, I'll be honest, Paul, I don't have a problem at all if they say, hey, you want to get on this website and look at that stuff, you're going to have to prove how old you are. Because, Paul, when we were kids, you couldn't walk into the newsagent and just grab the worst of the worst. It was all cloak and dagger. You had to get someone else to buy it.
Picture magazine didn't fly across the table.
No. Exactly right. You could maybe grab picture, but you try and grab something hardcore. That's just the guy behind the counter is not going to sell it to you. So I do think as a society we probably need. I would prefer the focus was on this because I worry about a 13-year-old looking at that stuff. And we're worried about social media. So, yeah, I think we probably will get to a point where the harshest parts of the internet will actually have not a paywall, but an identity wall. And I'm confident, though, the government won't look at, again, identity documents, but age assurance. You know, take a selfie and show that you're a grey-bearded old man so you can have a look. Yeah. That's what's going to happen.
I'm just asking that question on the behalf of a few long-distance truck drivers of Australia. Anyway.
Concerned citizens.
Correct. Thank you, mate. Love you. EFTM, Two Blokes Talking Tech. That's his podcast as well. Make sure you get it all. We love you, mate. Thank you. Trevor Long, best in the business, bar none. EFTM.com and .com.au. Make sure you go and give him a like on Facebook as well so he knows that you saw him here.